thought it was a bad thing. Because what's happening to us in terms of communication relationships? We're texting each other and not talking enough, right? We don't have face-to-face. We've forgotten about putting on putting, right? However, I realized after a while that it's a fact of life. There's going to be texting. There's going to be internet. And in fact, one day they're going to put chips in us. We're just going to have to think email messages instead of typing them. But for now, most of us email or we text. So I'm trying to find if the Kadosh Baruch Hu created text messaging, what can we do with it to make it positive? And the answer, I believe, is as follows. There are certain words. I'm going to make some generalizations right now. There are many women that really appreciate fine words from us. They want to know that we're thinking about them. Therefore, I believe that text messaging is a great vehicle to tell your wife that you're thinking about her. It's very simple. Just a few times a day, send her a few words. The words might just be, you're in my mind. For many women, of course it's a generalization, that's an incredibly powerful message. In fact, according to John Bowlby, who's the father of attachment theory, a great British psychiatrist in the 1940s, he studied thousands of mothers and children and developed something called attachment theory. In it he says that attachment is a primal motivating force of human existence. We biologically need, and we'll talk about that in a few moments, we biologically need a sense that we're close to someone in this world. Just as a mother is close to her child, holds the child close, feeds the child, clothes the child when the child is cold, feeds the child when the child is hungry, and so on, and comforts the child when the child is scared. Just as children need that sense of attachment, it's a biological necessity, so too Bowlby claims that after that initial attachment experience as babies, we then grow up, and 20, 25 years later we get married, and in our marriages we actually are re-experiencing for the first time a similar intimacy that we had with our mother, now with our spouse, meaning that sense of closeness, the sense of physical and emotional closeness we had in bonding with our parents many years ago, we now re-experience this with our spouse as well. So Bowlby says adults actually need the same sense of attachment that children need. However, the reality is that we're never going to be as close to our wives as we are to our mothers. Our wives are not going to hold on to us 24 hours a day. We're going to leave them. We're going to go to work. They're going to go shopping. We're going to be busy learning with the children, going to Shul with them. So how do we experience attachment with our wives, with our spouses as adults? Says John Bowlby, when I know that I'm in the other person's thoughts and vice versa, that's when the adult will experience a sense of attachment. So Bowlby goes on to say that we need to not only sense that, we need to express that. So some people really deeply long for that attachment, and it's expressed and understood through words. So if that's you, or that's your wife, let's say, it's important to concentrate on loving your wife in that way. That's positive words. Number two is time together. There are some people that don't experience that love relationship primarily in terms of words. Rather, they experience that love through spending time together. You can say till day and night that you love them, you care for them, you're thinking about them, but until you spend time with them, which usually means outside of the home, outside of the pressure cooker, they're not going to sense that same feelings of love that you may experience from other things. So if that's you or your wife, you need to spend time together. Quality time together. If I ask most people, how much quality time do you spend punning with your wife? If I ask this crowd, how many people spend 5 hours a week just speaking directly to their wife? That means without talk radio, no music, internet, television, movies, or anything of that nature. Just speaking to your wife, punning. How many would you say you spend 5 hours a week talking to your wives? Wow. Congratulations. You work together. So. 25, that's a lot of hours. Times 25. So most people, if I went to 4 hours, would say, how many days are in? It's 4 hours. 3 hours. Wow. 2 hours a week. 1 hour a week. Okay. So usually when I do this in a crowd, literally I will go down to 10, 20, 30 minutes a week until I get the biggest amount of people to respond to that question. Because the reality is today we spend very little time together with our spouses without interruption. We have many things which are noisy around us that keep us very busy, but we spend very little time just talking to our spouses. Some people really crave that and long for that sense of attachment that can only be experienced with spending time together. That means going out for a walk, That means taking her out to a restaurant. That means to a museum, to the boardwalk, whatever that is. If that's your wife or that's you, and you experience love in that way, you need to spend quality time together. Third thing, some people don't experience love in terms of words or time together. They experience intangibles such as gifts and presents. Doesn't mean you have to buy affection. It means that some people really like and feel nurtured by a present, physical gift. Some people love on their birthday to get that wonderful gift they're always dreaming for. But do we actually ask each other what types of gifts make us feel loved? Many people spend many, many years in marriage never really asking, what would you like me to give you? We make assumptions. For many years, I assumed my wife loved earrings. So for 5-6 years in our marriage, I bought her earrings. And one time, just before her birthday, said, is this really what you really want from me is earrings again, or a bracelet? She said, no, I want to go back to college. I want to get a master's degree in education. Why don't we spend some money in that way instead of earrings? So I asked her, and she told me, for her, that present of education was a sense that I was deeply committed and loved her. So you have to ask your spouse, if it's presents that you like, what types of presents do you feel make you really happy, make you feel really loved by me? The fourth is the funniest for men, is that some people really experience love in terms of tangibles, in terms of helping out, what we call acts of service. So acts of service is the fourth language of the love. That means if your wife is exhausted at night taking care of children, you help her out. That means if there's something that you can do for her physically around the house, tangibly, vacuuming, washing the dishes, throwing out the garbage, those things scientifically have shown to help people embrace one another on the deepest emotional level. Some people really experience a sense of relaxation and happiness when they're helped out. So if that's your language of love, or your wife's language of love, that is the passageway to her heart. And finally, affection. Gary Chapman calls this more touch and affection. Some people don't experience so much love in terms of words, spending time together, gifts, presents, or just helping out. They like to be touched. I'm not talking about intimacy here. I'm talking about a nice gesture, a hug, an embrace. Some people need that tangible feeling of closeness, of attachment, through physical means. And if that's the person you're married to, that's the way they like to be loved. That is very important to introduce that into your relationship. In fact, of course, in a sadistic way, in a private way, but still for some people, it's all about feeling your physical closeness to them, and that is more important to them than all the other things mentioned above. So that's one point we bring up in the Shalom workshop. Okay? Any questions?
What if your wife wants all of it?
You got to give it to her. So you're going to be very busy. Today and tomorrow. And when somebody expresses to you that they want that, thank God you release a no, because many marriages I see in counseling, a lot of the time they don't express what they need. So the husband or wife is left wondering. So it's very important actually to do this test and to go back and sit down with your spouse and have an open discussion. Sweetheart, I've been loving you in this way all these years. Is this your language of love? What do you need from me now? What would you really appreciate more from me? Is it words? Is it more helping? What is that you need from me? Time alone?